Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sacred Space podcast. My name is Gina Stockton and I'm so excited you are here today. My guests are Van and Laurie Miller. Van and Laurie are dear friends. They are board members for Stockton Ministries, but they are entrepreneurs. They are some of the most creative people I know, the most hardworking people I know, who have so much integrity and adaptability and willingness to lean into what God is doing, to listen, to pivot, to be generous, and you are gonna learn a lot from them. They've been an inspiration to me and my husband for a lot of years. I just think you're gonna love this conversation. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your time in the sacred space. Well, Van and Laurie Miller. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Howdy.
I'm so excited that you're here, and I probably did an intro before this is playing, so I've probably gone into history, but we met over 20 years ago. You guys moved into our neighborhood living across the street from us. Mm-hmm. And Van, your sister owned the house before you. Mm-hmm. And didn't she say there's some long-haired musician types from that church you guys go to across the street? And yeah.
Hippies, but not the good kind.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, Norm had a mullet. We won't talk about that. The dark ages.
I have a picture of him with the mullet.
But even before that, you were the limo driver for his bachelor party.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys were in a season, we'll go back to that. And I didn't know that. Anyhow, so crazy.
Wow.
But that street was just this sweet time. We had this amazing neighborhood, and the Darcys lived down the street, another couple that we knew. Mm-hmm. We all became so close, and the Flints.
Bert and Bernice,
who lived next door, an elderly couple lived next door to me, but it was such a sweet neighborhood and family and spiritual family, and Norm and I were newly married.
Kids.
We had our kids with you guys. That sounds really funny, but given my upbringing with my parents and my mom not being around, Laurie, you were my mom. Mm-hmm. You taught me how to cook a chicken, breastfeed a baby, like all the things. Like, you guys were like these surrogate parents / friends. You're not old enough to be my parents, but God does that. He brings surrogates, and that is something very significant. Like, God brings us these surrogate parents to support us and come alongside us, and you guys were that. Mm-hmm. For both Norm and I. So we've done a lot of life together and seen a lot, so I'm super excited to have you here, and I really wanted both of you here because both of you are significant, but also your relationship and how you love each other and walk out this crazy life together has been inspirational, to say the least, to Norm and I and so many others. And so, welcome to the podcast, guys. It's so good to have you. I would love for you guys to share your story first, like just your history, like history with Jesus, with each other, just kind of those early years. You don't have to go into crazy detail, but I would love a little bit of foundation for people to kind of get an idea of who you are.
Yeah, well, we've been married 37 years. Is that what it is? Van always remembers. I never remember. I mean, I have kind of a church background. I'm Presbyterian. Went to church on Sundays, and they had great donuts, so that's why we went as kids. And Van comes from no church background whatsoever. And so when we first met and he wanted to take me out, I was like, we were living in Arizona at the time, and he was a surfer guy, and I owned a store, and so I just thought, well, there's no way I'm going to, get together with a surfer because, they don't work and they just surf. And he was traveling on the weekends to California to surf, but as I kind of got to know him, I realized this man is incredibly driven. He's super healthy in his lifestyle. He was fun. He made me laugh. And, so I ended up going out with him. And we connected instantly. There's something about that connection that you have with somebody that is your opposite, but also supports you. And he loved me because I was very type A, ambitious type of a woman. Very independent.
I think the technical term was kick-ass.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you can delete that now. And so he gave me that permission to be independent, which back then,
Yeah, it was a big deal.
It was a really big deal. And so before we knew it, I was pregnant with our son. I think that was the second time we made love out of wedlock. And a year later we got married, and here we are. We moved to San Diego and we found Horizon. I was really looking for a church, at this point. We hadn't been to church in a while, or I hadn't been to church, and I dragged Van to Sunday service, and Mike McIntosh was wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and that's all it was for Van. It was like, oh, he's real. This is a real guy here. He's got a Hawaiian shirt on. So before you know it, I had rededicated my life to the Lord, and Van came to the Lord during that time. And of course, we don't do anything halfway. We ran ministries. We had home fellowship at our house.
Yeah.
We started a sports ministry, of course, and I worked for the church, and, we were all in. The great thing about Van is I come from this church background where it's like you give your 10% to the church, and that's what you do. You check it off, you put it in the envelope, and you're done. Van never understood any of that. If somebody was next door and they were starving and they needed a ride to the hospital or to the doctors, that was church to Van.
Yeah, it's good.
Having somebody flip that on you and making you realize in your heart, that's the right thing.
Yeah, it's good.
But it kept it in this crazy pureness. Everything, and I say crazy because, Van always spins everything, differently. He's never inside the box. There is no box with Van.
Or God, actually, which is kind of what you're speaking to, right? Like religion puts God in a box. Like, this is how you give. This is how you serve. This is what you do. This is what ministry actually is. It's defined in this very narrow thing. And so what you're saying, in some ways, it was Van's naivete to the box of religion, and Van just being like, awesome, God's cool, Jesus, yeah, here, But that's actually more true Christianity and church and spiritual community than all the other things that we make of it, right? That's cool.
Yeah, it kept it really real for me. And I think, deep down inside, I am that hippie person. And so it resonates with that hippie thing that I have, keeping everything really real and authentic. And, as we grew, we started to make money and we started to do well, and God bless us. We had this big house and we had home fellowship there, and we were giving 10% and giving more to the neighbor, whoever needed it. We were very giving. Well, then Van decides that he's going to pray that God's going to humble him. He did not tell me he was praying this. But decided that he needed to be humble, to be taken to this next level with God. So he lost his job.
I would just say that I had a good communication with God. He was answering prayer. He was like, God, no, I got you.
Yeah,
we can make that happen.
Yeah. So, but seriously, what were you feeling that led you to pray that prayer?
The whole Christian lifestyle was so new to me and so counter to everything I was raised with. I started to embrace these things about it, and just this spirit of humility, which interestingly, looking back on my journey, has really appealed to me and us. That there's a couple of things in the Bible that I take really seriously, like never let the right hand know what the left hand's doing. So when we give, we try and give without anybody knowing.
Yeah.
I think we are very cognizant of how much God has blessed our lives in both our friends, certainly from a tangible thing, from properties and those kind of things, and the ability to make money. But, more importantly, our kids and the relationships we have, and certainly our marriage. And when you look at those gifts that he's bestowed upon you, you can't help but be humble about it. And it's just like, God, why me, man? And so I think that being in that place of, I was an athlete and I worked at this place and it was all about show and, the logo on the chest and those kind of things. I think that's what kind of put me into that place. And it was really kind of a quiet prayer, but it made for a somewhat awkward conversation after I had lost my job. And I was like, oh yeah, I was praying for humility. And Laurie was like, what?
What, you idiot! You don't ever pray that. Christianity 101.
It's kind of like
Exactly.
giving your kids a book of matches. Here, go play. But, I think that when I first met Laurie, her strength and her clarity of the direction that she was heading in her life was that really appealed to me. And I was not a person that dated very much. And I had a lot of friends, a lot of group friends, but never really dated very much. And it was interesting looking back. It was the perfect plan.
Yeah.
Having Kana and then being married, it allowed us to fall in love. And it was completely ass backwards, but it was perfect for us. And when I became a Christian, I started to realize that, wow, I'm married to a woman that has insane discernment. And and it's really hard because as a man, you want to like, I know all the answers. I can make all these decisions, and I still struggle with that. But a lot of the time, it's that I've seen is surrendering to, if we're at a pivotal point and Laurie says, I really think we need to go this way. And I think we've both given each other permission to make those kind of statements, but it's really trusting in that. And it's still a hard thing to trust in.
Right.
To get there. But
I love that. Just to stop you just for a second, because I think that's really important. I think that the whole, and we've talked about this on the podcast before. Norm and I even did a couple of episodes on partnership and marriage. And I think the whole submission model over the years in the Western evangelical church has been really distorted, a distorted picture of what marriage should be, because it really is a partnership. It's, you can't stand where you are without Laurie beside you. She can't stand where she is without you beside her. And it's the two of you walking and discerning and praying and making decisions together. I don't think any man was designed or equipped to carry the full load and weight on his shoulders of the full, spiritual health and relational health and everything of his entire family, and everyone just is like, where are we going?
Yeah.
You decide, like you go back to Adam and Eve, and there's this necessity of the partnership, which is a reflection of the Trinity, God, Father, Son, and Spirit, like mutually submissive, but equally God, all those things. Anyhow, and that is something that I feel like I've just so respected as I've watched you guys over the years navigate that, grow in that, live in that, in significant ways, and through things that honestly break up a lot of marriages, losing everything, then getting everything. Like any one of those swings can tend to destroy a marriage because that partnership isn't there.
Well, and we're certainly not immune to those. Those stresses that are the world and life affect us. There's a million times that we've had angst about something.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's
moving past it.
Yeah, moving past it and just growing and embracing that growth.
And when you even say moving through it,
Yeah, for us, it's really interesting. I think in a marriage, you need to learn how somebody processes pain, struggle, And Van is very much a 3-day person. It takes him 3 days to get to the point where he can then communicate what he's thinking. And for me, I have this thing, it's you cry about it for 24 hours, you complain about it for 24 hours, and then the next 24 hours you come up with a plan. And so I'm already coming up with a plan on day 3 where he really needs that whole day 3 to really process this. So a day 4 we can sit down with it.
Come together, yeah.
We come together and we do this we do this with every single thing. We don't let things lie a long time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how do we move through this?
Yeah.
And once we make that plan, we very much hold each other accountable through that plan. And through that plan, things change. And if Van says to me, we can't do that,
Yeah.
I go, when he says things on that level, because he knows I'll challenge him, but there's a certain sentence in the way he says it that I know he's already processed that with God.
Yeah, it's good.
And I don't need to do that. And the same with me. If I say that to him in a certain tone or a certain way, Van knows, okay, she's already gone there with God. He's talked to her about this,
Yeah, it's
and
good.
we need to listen. And that's real partnership. It's not always together. It's individually.
Yeah.
Somebody taking, it's like sometimes we'll do this tag team. Okay, you've got to be it for this because I'm all out of Jesus today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
So you prayed the prayer, lose everything. You're in a Bible study one day, and he's sharing. So I've been, and you're yelling at him across the room. But
Everyone was though. Like the whole home fellowship was like, you did what? It wasn't just
this
me.
is your fault.
I was like, I couldn't breathe.
But I remember hearing stories of, I think you had one car, you were riding a bike with 2 kids to the grocery store,
yeah.
and beans and a pot of beans for a week, all that stuff. And we met when you guys were on the other side a little bit. So Van started working for San Diego State, the Aztec athletic department. You bought the house from your sister, small little house across the street that was a beater. Like 900 square feet?
672.
672 square feet with 2 kids.
Yeah.
But that was a part of you receiving the provision and then turning it into a home.
But here's the interesting thing, because my sister was moving. She was going through a divorce, and she had borrowed money from my grandparents to purchase this house, and she was going to walk away. And my grandparents had called me, and it was so far from the beach. I was mad. And it's so funny. I think, it's just so typical. God wants to bless you and give you stuff, and you're just stubborn little 2-year-old
It's good.
in the corner stomping your feet. Of all the places we've lived, and we've moved a lot, 20, 30 homes, it's still our favorite place.
Yeah,
and
that's
it was just, we had no idea going into that. And it was, we made friends for life. I can't wait to get to heaven to talk to Bert and Bernice.
I know.
Just adore those guys. They were the neatest elderly couple.
Yeah.
And it was, Bert was super cute. He would come, and we had animatronic chairs on the front lawn.
Yeah.
And he would come and sit down, and I'd have to pull him out because he couldn't get out.
Yeah.
But he would only stay for 10 minutes because he's like, well, Bernice will wonder where I am.
Yeah.
I miss those guys.
Yeah.
So, that was a super fun place to live.
Yeah.
And it was fun to kind of get to know everybody there.
Yeah. I love that. I think that we definitely live in a time that just seeing people and building relationship with people, neighbors, people that wouldn't necessarily be in your circle. Is kind of a lost art, because life is so crazy. Like I look at young families now and the pace at which they're going, and the kids are in 12 sports. And there was a very sweet season where your lawn was kind of like the neighborhood living room, and almost every day, and the kids were playing in the street, and we were hanging out in the chairs, talking about life and everything, the ups, the downs,
and doing the
in between.
Streetwide garage sales and having Norm play bass on
the front step, all the things.
I know.
So both of you are incredibly successful. Van, you've got, your entrepreneur, business-minded man, and you can go into a little bit kind of like what you do. Laurie, you're entrepreneurial as well. One of the things, Laurie, I've so admired about you over the years is you're very intentional. The two of you are some of the most intentional people I know, and patient. And you may not think that, but I would watch you like have an idea. So in this little 600 square foot house that was lath and plaster, hardwood floors, the really cool little neighborhood in Talmadge. And you had this vision for the floor in the front room, and you wanted to redo the hardwood, the oak, but you also wanted to kind of stencil paint this thing. But it was like over a year because you like researched, you saved the money. It's like just this very intentional, calculated thing, and it was so contrary to me and my. I get impatient, or I want it fast, or I'll, kind of skirt around, do it halfway to make it, get it done quicker. And you've done that with everything. So you have Nani Pua, which is like an organic, high-end skincare line, non-GMO, all the good high-end hippie stuff. And like 3 years you researched and formulated. It was a very calculated thing. And then the year you're supposed to launch, COVID hits and everything shuts down. But I would love for you, if there's anything you would want to share about that, like that journey of you are generous people, you're ministry people, but you're also entrepreneurs, which is not separate. I think God's calling us to integrate all of ourselves. What is that in you? How you steward things, whether it's spiritually or practically, whether it's a business idea.
It's been such a joy for me to watch her journey with this, because she's come into this phase in her life, this comfortable maturity in her gifts and the ability to weld those gifts. So I think that if you look at the product that she has, and like you had said, it's botanical, it's non-GMO, it's organic, and it's working backwards to all of that goes into that, aligns with her gifts to so much.
Right.
And her just uncompromising, if this is from God, it's got to be the best. And it's not just the end result, it's got to be the best with my legal counsel and going through
the integrity of it,
the doing everything right, and making sure that my taxes are appropriately being paid and not taking these shortcuts. It's fun for me to watch because I see her be right in the sweet spot for her gifts, and it's just, you can't help but be super edified with that. But it's also fun to pray with her for doors to be open. Super happy and proud of my mate. So
that's good.
Yeah, Nani Pua is, my passion and love, my true love and passion is being in the garden, And we're out here on 157 acres.
Yeah, sorry.
And we've done a lot of conservation work out here and native plant research, and that's really that's who God created me to be.
Yeah,
it's just good. Whereas Van loves the ocean. I mean, that's his spot. I love nature. I need to be outside, and I've always felt this sense of that God has given us this land, not just our land, but land in general, the earth. And it is our responsibility to take care of it. Mm-hmm. And it's who he's created me to be. And I think that, you dabble in these things of all these gifts that God has given you through your life. And, you have kids and your real focus is on kids. And we bought and sold 1 million houses. And I've been able to be really creative and remodel these homes and make them beautiful. But this is who I really am. And it's
good. Yeah.
And I'm at this place in my life where I not only have given myself permission, but God has given me permission to be able to do this and to create this product. And I feel like it's such a beautiful time of my life that I can do this. You know,
Yeah.
I've raised my children and we've made it financially. And now I'm like, okay, I can use this other gift that it's kind of been on the back burner. And what is God going to do? So, yes, 3 years of research to create 11 products were formulated. We were going to launch in 2020, June 2020, and then in February 2020, as you know, Van does events for a living, and basically the same day he gets a call saying every event in the world is going to shut down. I get emails from all my distributors, the botanicals, can't get it through customs. The pumps can't come in from Italy. The bottles aren't going to come in from Germany. And we just sat there at our table and said, okay, there is no money going to come in whatsoever, and we can't launch this line. So it's not like just, I can't launch the line. All of our income stopped.
Right.
So being us, we were just like, what are we going to do? You know, again, we did the 24-hour prayer thing. And I think we woke up in the middle of the night. Was it the first night?
Probably.
The first night that we went to bed, and we woke up in the middle of the night and said, okay, well, we're in labs. We're already in 2 labs and why don't we manufacture hand sanitizer, because there was such a shortage of it. So, probably within a week we were manufacturing, I don't know how many bottles we manufactured.
I think the first one was 16,000.
16,000, yeah. And so we had made a commitment for every bottle that we sell, that we would donate a bottle to charities throughout San Diego. And we donated about 130,000 that first year of product. And you know, it was the biggest learning curve, but we did it together.
Yeah.
And once again, we were in this, okay, this is what we need to do. And then financially, we still didn't know what was going to happen the next following year. I still couldn't get botanicals into the country at that point. So the house that we were living in, we sold because the market had gone up a ton. And so the thing with Van and I is we understand the situation that we're in, and we come up with a solution of how to pivot.
I think it's so important, because I think we can get so caught up in what we think the dream exactly is supposed to look like that when it doesn't happen that way, or the rug seems to be ripped out, then I think a lot of people just get paralyzed or give up. But you guys don't do that. Pivot's a great word. You just kind of go, okay, we're shifting direction. And you go to the Lord and you go to each other and go, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Rather than either go into victim mindset or go into paralyzation or just give up, you go to Jesus and go, okay, now what? Because clearly you weren't surprised. You know, that kind of thing. And there was something you said earlier, I'd love to go back. You were kind of saying, you know, you raised your kids, you did these things, you bought the property, you've bought and sold so many homes and did the, you know, VRBOs and Airbnbs for so long and all that stuff. And now it feels like it was time. You could give yourself permission. It was time, and God gave you permission. Do you feel like you are ready in a way now to step into this that you wouldn't have been maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Like, is there something that you feel prepared now in how you step into Nani Pua?
I feel like God gives you this basket of gifts, and you use them throughout your life. You know, you should hopefully use these throughout your life. I think just the maturity of experience that you have, and making the mistakes that we do. I mean, making financial mistakes and all that. I think for me now, I've owned a store before. I understand running a business. I think right now, I don't have that anxious spirit where, and I have had that with this company before. It's like, I've got to be on Facebook every day. I've got to be on Instagram every day. I've got to make sure that this happens and this bombardment of multitasking all these different things. I feel like now is if I create the most excellent product and stay in this place of integrity and pray for doors to open organically instead of be chasing these things,
Yeah, that's good.
they do.
Yeah.
And we need to rest within that.
Oh, it's good. Yeah. It's a big deal.
We have we put numbers on ourselves. We need to hit this mark, or we need to get into Neiman Marcus. People, we need to get into, everybody has these things that they're told, we need to be in vogue, all these things. And God says, I have created a path for you to walk down. And I'm waiting for you to take the steps down that road. And that road is so much easier than chasing the world.
Yeah, it's good.
Sheila's chasing the world to me.
I just really believe that at this stage of our life that we having more time in peace with God and with peace with each other brings us to that path that we should be on.
What were the things that you learned and the Lord showed you? And then what is he doing in you guys now?
I think that it gave us, with the donation part of that, one great relationship that we didn't really expect. And we found a Coastal Roots farm, which is built on a Jewish tradition. It started one day, we were driving around and Laurie was like, I want a farm stand. And we were in Encinitas. So we just looked up on our phone and said, oh, there's one right here. And so we went to it, and they have a farm stand. Pay what you can afford. And that is so our jam. We were just like, good. What? This is great. And their vision is pretty amazing. They service a lot of homebound seniors, then bring them fresh vegetables. I didn't know this, in San Diego there's a very small group of Holocaust survivors that they bring food to. Wow. They come way out to Indian reservations, service those seniors, and they have a lot of educational stuff about kids, bringing kids through and teaching them about.
That's awesome.
Really this agriculture thing, and so it was a great way to have a relationship with them, and we would have never known if we weren't in this. And I feel that our relationship is something that is going to continue to build. And they're like, okay, we're good on sanitizer. We don't need any more. but they are So it was really fantastic, kind of getting to know them. And did some other sort of traditional stuff and non-traditional. So I think the thing that Laurie and I do with a lot of our giving and mentoring is we do it at a real granular level. Yeah. And the straight up giving, we try and be pretty quiet about that. But the mentoring is stuff that it's one at a time. Yeah. And you had alluded to it briefly. I don't know why, it's kids. Yeah. And we suck them in, and we end up being family for life. Yeah. And it's fun because we need them as much as they need us. Yeah, that's good. And I think it's we have a kid that we got when he had just turned 18. And now he's, mid-40s, something like that. And he's doing amazing. I mean, amazing. And when you think amazing, think about 3 more levels above that. And it's just been so enjoyable watching his journey. Yeah. And where he's at. And he's got kids and he's married and super successful. But I think what we get out of that is, he is extremely entrepreneurial, and now he's pushing us.
Yeah, it's good.
It's so funny.
It's awesome. So funny. Yeah. And it's just, we probably talk 4 or 5 times a month.
So good.
Either one of us calls him.
I think the temptation for someone in your kind of level and stage of life is that there's no one younger that could teach you anything, right? So to posture yourself in a place where I can receive from someone that would be quote unquote a kid to me, I can receive from someone younger, I can receive, keeps you in that place of humility, but also keeps you in that place of growth, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially like in church leadership too, I see so often just hyper control and micromanagement or fear and insecurity causing people to not receive the younger generation. It's like, oh, no, you're not mature enough. You can't say that. Or no, this is how we do things. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And we're just missing out on the beauty of the diversity of perspective and voices and experience and, you know, all the things. And that's beautiful, you know, that you can be in that place and go, oh my gosh, I'm getting encouraged by this kid that I poured into, or I'm getting, you know, I'm learning.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you know him, but we have another friend of ours that we've been with ever since he was a mere lad, and now he's in Tennessee, I think, and full-time ministry, like hardcore, like we're jumping off. Hope there's water in that pool. And it's really inspiring and makes you like, okay, we need to step up our game a little bit.
Good.
You know, but it's interesting how they want your input about they're at a crossroads or what do we do about this, and so that's really rewarding. And it's and a lot of these kids that have pulled along have worked with us in different capacities, and so I think it's important. We were very, very fortunate that our kids got to work with us, and that they see you in situations that are difficult.
Yeah, it's good.
And how you respond to those.
Yeah.
And you're upset and mad, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's good.
And how do you process through that? I think I was very fortunate in that both Kana and Jake got to work with me for many, many years for events. And Jake says it occasionally, like, oh yeah, you taught us to work hard.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and to be grateful for God's done in your life.
Yeah, I just, I so appreciate you guys. Your friendship means a lot. You know, your family. You're also board members for Stockton Ministries.
I wear a tie.
Yeah, right. No. But yeah, I mean, the impact you've had on our lives has been significant, but it's also been so fun to watch how God is moving in and through you guys and how he's using you, and to be able to have a front row seat but also glean from it has been awesome. So
and likewise, it's fun to watch yours and Norm's journey and your family. You know, it's rewarding to see these pieces come together. Like you said right when we were starting, this is your 5th season. There's a lot of people who don't get 5 seasons. And what they do, you know?
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome.
So good.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that we love about you and Norm too is your level of excellence. You know, we talk about that with, you know, you were talking about that with Nani Pua and that journey that, you know, and Van was too, the journey that I take, but you and Norm also do it the same way. I mean, everything, like you were talking about Norm earlier, he wants everything so excellent. He can get stuck in excellence, you know, but there's not a lot of that right now. And it's, for us, it's refreshing when we see, you know, kids like you, because you're really kids to us, you know, seeing you wanting excellence. And whereas you've been so passionate about ministry, of you walking that hard road of ministry and finally getting to this place that you're at now, where is your true gift is starting to shine. And it's easy to see somebody else's gift.
Yeah.
And that it's really hard to be that person to get to that point where you really have received your gift and you're actually moving forward on it. And your gift is, and I've said this to you so many times, is your gift is you're really good at being able to hear somebody, listen to their story, process that story, take it somewhere back to God spiritually, and having a word that you can give back to that person is spoken back to that person so that they can actually hear it. And so many times in the church and in ministry, people speak in such Christian ease that we can't, a regular person can't hear it, a broken person can't hear it. And that gift is of you being able to listen and then process that through God, and then be able to speak those words to somebody that really resonates within their heart and changes them, is a gift. And you are at this place in your life where you're actually using that. And it's beautiful.
Thanks, Laurie. Thanks for being our friends, guys. Thanks for being on, for taking the time. Yeah.
We were looking forward to having you out here.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, first, it's great to see you, but it's always fun when somebody comes out, and this was enjoyable.
Love you guys.
Love you too.
Well, before we go, I want to take a moment, and I just want to give you a little bit of space. What are the gifts that God's giving you? Sometimes I think we categorize gifts and we put ministry and church in one box, and then the rest of life and the world in another. But Jesus is calling us to live an integrated life. If you are a businessman or woman, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are the CEO of a company, or have a small business, how do you partner with Jesus in that? How do you lean in and listen to what he's calling you to do, and how he's calling you to stand in those places? Can you loosen your grip on the dream, the vision, enough to receive what's in front of you? Can you adapt? Can you trust the Lord that he's not gonna leave you high and dry, but that if things shift or pandemics hit or whatever the case may be, there is an opportunity? Can you face challenges and not be paralyzed, but actually be activated? So I just want to leave you with that to consider, to ponder, to maybe blow up the box that maybe you've placed certainly God in, or your dreams and your gifts in. So Father, in Jesus' name, I just pray for everyone who's listening right now, for the dreams, the ideas, the gifts, the creativity that you've given your kids. Lord, we live in a world that needs your people to be fully who you made them to be, to let go of the anxiety, the temptation for comparison, fear, and step into trusting dependence on you, and to step into rest. When you say that your yoke is easy and your burden is light, that's what you're talking about, that you're inviting us to exchange the heaviness, the weight, all the responsibility to make everything happen and to lay it all at your feet and trust you to show us how to stand and steward the things that you've entrusted to us. So, Father, I pray for revelation. I pray for wisdom, supernatural wisdom, not my own understanding. I pray for revelation. And I pray for confidence. Lord, would you rise up confidence and creativity and trust in your kids? We live in a world that needs people full of integrity, full of grace, full of love, to shine a light in a dark world. So would you bless your people? And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sacred Space podcast. If you want to get information about Nani Pua, you can check them out at nanipua.com. There's also a link in the episode notes, and you can visit their website. If you would like to support the production of this podcast and other projects by Stockton Ministries, we would be so honored if you would partner with us. We want to resource people with tools to just grow in their intimacy and their identity in Jesus. So you can click the link in the episode notes or go to our website, ginastockton.com, and click the donate button in the top right-hand corner. I hope you have an amazing week, that you know that you are seen, that you are known, and you are deeply loved. We'll see you next time in the Sacred Space.